a second. All right, let's see here. And then it will, I think we are good to, oh, it still is loading. Unsupported request. Huh. Okay. Hopefully it is going. I think it is. I'm going to record it just in case. And if people are watching, we'll see what goes on. But I'm going to record this just in case. So we'll just go ahead and get started. And if it's not live, hopefully it is. People will let me know. I'll get some text here from Evan in a second. But we'll go ahead and get started. All right, Mike and Ryan, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Tell us where you guys are in Florida and talk about your friendship. Who are you guys and how do you know each other?
I'm Ryan Bell, Bell's Catering. I'm from Chiefland, Florida. Known Mike for probably better part of 40 years off and on, back when he was a bootleg mullet fisherman, when he was a school teacher and that kind of stuff. So it's a small community and we've been friends for a long time.
Yeah, I'm Mike Thomas, school superintendent in Dixie County. Known Ryan, yeah, most all my life, and I live down here on the Swanee River in Old Town, Florida, kind of in the panhandle of Florida, and I'm just glad to be here tonight.
Yeah, I know you're glad to be here tonight. Very blessed. The reason we obviously are talking to you guys is because you have a story that I think a lot of people should hear. Very important, and one of, just crazy. I mean, it's so cool that you're still here and blessed and everything. Let's talk about it. So 3 years and some months ago, whoever wants to take the lead in telling us where you guys were, what you guys were doing, right before something happened.
Yeah, so I was, Ryan has a catering business. So he has, he's got equipment. He's got one of these big smokers, a Southern Pride smoker. And I was having I had one of my directors in the school system who was retiring, and his name was Buddy Schofield. Actually, he's from Trenton, Florida, and he was retiring, and I was going to do a surprise party for him. And I was going to I had some hogs I'd raised, and we had scalded a pig. And Ryan had called me and he said, "Hey, just bring that pig." He said, "We'll put it on my smoker. We'll tie it down. We'll cook it all night." Because we'd always talked about doing a pig with an apple in his mouth, putting it on the table, decorating it. And me and Buddy had always talked about it. I said, I'll surprise him. He's not going to know anything about it. We'll, I had probably invited about 50 people, had a big party planned on that Friday, on that next day. And so that was kind of the plan. I got off, it was like June 15th. 2021. I got home, and my wife doesn't go with me to many of these things, but Jill, she had been off. She's a teacher. She'd been teaching. She said, "Yeah, I'll ride with you." So she hopped in the truck, and we got the hog. We had done scalded it, and we headed over to Ryan's. Ryan was going to help me. He said, "This is going to be quick. It's going to take us about 15 minutes." And then things kind of turned south.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So talk about things turn south. Whoever, Brian, if you want to take over here, you can. Mike, if you remember this part, if you want to describe it, whoever you think has, best
well, to add in before we get there, I was late as usual because we were supposed to meet and I had a contract out of town. And he'd been waiting on me for like an hour and a half. And I kept texting, "Man, I'm coming. And it was summertime in Florida. And it was raining and flooding and monsooning. And it was a rainy day. And I felt bad for sure when I got there because Jill was out there. I didn't mind Mike waiting, but I sure didn't want Jill to be mad at me because she's sitting there waiting in the truck, having to put with him for an hour and a half with nothing to do. So, and to add to the story, Mike, he's a closet chef. He wants to cook everything. So he's all the time he's doing things, and he wants to do it himself, and he wants to learn the process, and he enjoys that part of it. So over the years, he's always come and cook for his staff, and even as a superintendent, he'll do fundraiser and he'll cook the chicken himself for the fundraiser for the air show, and he'll cook. He handles it all. So and he has pride in that part of it. So when he told me he wanted to do this pig for Buddy, you know, we were very specific for that little 15 minutes and how easy it was going to be that we were going to do a small 45-pound pig. And Mike showed up with the biggest hog that he probably had in the world that took 6 people to load it in the truck. Okay, so that's when it started going south. So so it was a little different than it was, but
It was about 120-pound hog.
math, as a superintendent, that was a long way from 45 pounds. So math possibly wasn't his strong suit. So, but we went over that when we were there, and we wrestled with it a little bit. But that's how we kind of got both up to that point. And
Right.
then from there, I guess I'll tell that story when it kind of gets going down because I might not remember much of it. So, we were fighting the weather, and it was summertime, and daylight savings time came, and I was late, so it was already getting dark. So we had a spotlight out there so we could see. And the smoker's like on a trailer, but it was kind of backed in halfway under a shelter, so we weren't having to work in the rain, but but it was still, you know, kind of wet in our area. And you know, it was normal. I've done this 1,000 times, you know, and no issues, no problems. Well, when we got out there and got this big pig, this smoker, to kind of explain how it is, it's you know, like the back of a huge cargo van, for lack of a better explanation, that you have to kind of lift it into, and there's these revolving racks that are in there, so you've got to be able to pick it up and get it on these racks. So we got him up there, and me and Mike, not being as young as we used to be, we thought we was just going to throw that pig up there, and we got about halfway there and went, we couldn't get him, so we put him back down. And so Mike climbed up. There was a metal work table in front, stainless steel work table in front of the smoker. Mike climbed over to lift it in, and I was gonna climb up on the other side and lift it in. Well, apparently the cord that went to the spotlight had got up underneath the edge of this table, and it was a metal leg or metal edge. And when he climbed up on the table, it cut the cord and blew the breaker. So we didn't even know anything about it. All we knew was the light bulb blew. So the lady that was there,
we were actually, like, me and Ryan was both up on the table.
That's right.
We were both up there. We was getting the hog up there. I remember this part vividly. Ryan said, "Hey, I've got to tie him down." So Ryan said, "Let me get some string." So he got down off the table. I'm still kind of just having the hog in place, but my left arm is on metal. I'm on metal.
It's wet.
Yeah,
it's wet everywhere.
I'm in flip flops, so the cord is under the cord. We had cut the cord by us both being up there. We had cut the cord almost in two. Well, when that happened, when Ryan, thank the Lord, it didn't blow when we were both up there. Ryan was off the table, and the person holding the light, I was just sitting there, and all of a sudden I hear a bang. Well, the light bulb blew, and we were in the dark. At that time, I was in the dark. Ryan was off the table. I'm up on the table, just holding the hog, you know, on metal. And
we didn't know the breaker trip because the light bulb blew. It kind of went pop and blew.
Yeah.
So we replaced, while he's still holding it, I'm getting the string. The lady went and replaced the light bulb. Well, it still wouldn't work. She said, "Oh, let me trip the breaker." It didn't dawn on us that it was under the thing. So when the breaker tripped is when it energized with power that table. So then Mike is on the table with nowhere to go, getting shocked.
She flipped the breaker back on, right?
Right.
Turn the breaker back.
That's when you got shocked. But then it tripped the breaker back off. Apparently, it didn't for a little bit because I'm getting the string and I'm probably, you know, 5 to 6 foot away, and I can tell obviously something's wrong because he stiffed it up, didn't say anything, and I ran over there, and rather than grab him, because you hear all those stories of, you know, you grab him and you'll stick to him, you know, I hit him and knocked him off the table so that way I could break that current from going through him.
That's smart. Good thinking.
And but when he was stiff from the, you know, when you get shocked, it kind of stiffens your muscles up. So he kind of was stiffened up and he hit his head. Well,
yeah, when I was actually up there with my arm when the circuit came back on, when she flipped the circuit breaker back on. I can't describe the feeling. It was, I fought it for about 3 seconds, and then the electricity went from my left arm. It came out up under my arm, and I fought it about 3 seconds, and then what happened? My heart stopped.
So you remember the feeling, though?
I remember the electricity hit me, and me fighting it for 3 seconds, then my heart stopped. And of course, at that time, I don't remember anything.
then you're unconscious, and Ryan, now you take over. You see him laying there unconscious. Did you call 911 first? What was your first move?
So first thing I did is I flipped him over and I yelled to the lady that was there to call 911. Um, and his poor wife, Miss Jill, comes over there and she's hysterical because she could tell immediately what happened. So, and worried, of course, of what's going on. So when we flipped him over, he was non-responsive. Um, I hadn't had, I mean, I'm 35 years ago, probably, or 30 years ago, I had CPR in like the 9th grade at Chiefland High School with
Right.
Station Annie, you know? So, I mean, that was the, no update training, no nothing since then, but I passed then and I remembered what it was. So, and I had, you know, I've got some restaurants too. So in the restaurants, there's a lot of, firefighters and paramedics, and I got them as friends that talk about, you know, the chest compressions are the most important thing and this and that.
Yeah.
You know, you don't even know the whole process. When you don't refresh yourself regularly, you don't know the whole process. So when I rolled them over, they were talking us through it while I was getting them ready on the 911. The 911 operator was telling them, we'll do this, what's going on? And she's repeating back and I'm hearing it. And I had immediately, when I got them over, started doing the chest compressions and talking to them because, you know, just come on now, pay attention, you know, just,
Yeah.
because you don't know, somebody snap out of it. You don't know how that is. I don't know if I'm going to hurt him. I don't know if he's just shocked and he's stunned.
Right.
I don't know what's going on. So I started taking care of that.
Did you check my pulse?
I did check your pulse. I did
You
check
did?
your pulse. I didn't have a pulse. I made sure your airway was clear. I checked your head sideways, make sure you didn't cook something up. So I went through all that, but and it was fast. It was really, really quick. It did not seem fast. Like they said, the ambulance was there in 14 minutes, and I'll tell more of the story, but it seemed like, or maybe 11 minutes or something, but it seemed like an hour, like, because there was just so much going on. But so after we checked all that and did everything, then I started doing the chest compressions. And you know, I'm telling him, hey, you got, because by now it's kind of set in, okay, this is real. Like he's not just shocked, this isn't happening, this is real. Like his eyes are looking to the left and he ain't moving, he isn't breathing. I'm not going, I got to do something. I mean, my friend ain't going to die right here today, you know, this is what was going through my head. So as I'm doing the chest compression, I'm talking to him and I'm telling him, remind him, hey, you got a family, you know, pay attention, you know, come on now. And, you know, and I was like, hey, you know, I holler at him a second as I'm going, and then I'll talk normal and everything. So it may have been 2 or 3 or 4 minutes. It seemed like a lot longer, but then I see him, because when I went, hey, or something like that with his, your wife or something like that, his eye kind of twitched at me like he heard me. So then it was like, so then I kind of slowed down and was going, but I stopped because I didn't want to be off beat. Then he kind of made a weird breath when I stopped, like, and then he was gone again. So then I panicked and I started again. So that happened 3 times. If I remember correctly, that happened 3 times. And then on the 3rd time, he responded. You know, he looked and it was long enough there that he's like, where am I at or something. I don't even remember. It was like, when it was all done, to be honest with you, I know this is, you know, I got done and he pulled him off. He was going to the hospital because at that point he was enough, and the ambulance got there and they checked him out and put him on the stretcher and they're taking him to the hospital. And I didn't want his wife to have to go sit up there by herself. So I said, well, I was going to go over there, but when they all pulled off, I went and got in my truck and I said, man, I rode over to the gypsy store, bought me a cold beer and sat there and drank a beer and cooled off for a minute, because I was just like, there ain't no way I can't even, because it all kind of kicked in right then, you know, and I'm not a big drinker, but I had to kind of level that off, you know?
Yeah.
So at that point, I mean, that's so far where it was till we got to the hospital and all.
Yes,
they found out.
I was, you know, I was there, and, you know, I began, after I was out, the next thing I remember, I've heard about tunnel vision, but I started having tunnel vision. I've always heard people, you know, what is tunnel vision? So it was like I was laying there and I began to see down a tunnel. It was just like a tunnel. And at the end of it, and I thought I was seeing maybe Ryan and then maybe my brother. I was seeing a picture, and then it just became as clear, as I'm sitting here looking at you. Jesus was like right there.
Oh
And
my
so,
gosh.
you know, and he just basically was saying, you know, Mike, you need to tell people about Jesus. When I first got my first breath, I got a breath. I remember taking that first breath. I don't know how long it had been. I hadn't been breathing. It might have been 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't know how many minutes.
I can't tell you. I'd be lying. It
I
seemed
don't-
like a day and a half, but it was probably 3 or 4 minutes.
But my wife, she
Yeah.
was in there. She had been praying, and I said, "Thank you, Jesus," 3 times.
I do remember him saying, "Thank you, Jesus," and holding and grabbing my hand. I do remember that.
And they put something on me, and then they rushed me to the hospital. I was at Shands at the burn unit. They carried me in there. The doctor there was fixing to retire. He said I was actually a miracle that I survived this. And I asked him how long I would have to be there. He said several days, I'm sure, because of what happened. And I walked out of Shands Hospital in 22 hours.
They couldn't believe. Didn't you tell me they couldn't believe the minor burn on your elbow where that left you? That they
Right,
normally
so-
they take you to the burn unit because electricity going through your body. I think if you told me, if I remember right, burns you from the inside. So they do all that stuff so they could check, but there was no
Yeah.
sign of that.
So it burnt me down my arm, and it came out under my left arm. So that's kind of where the heart was. So that's kind of where the electricity came out. But yeah, I mean, it was Jesus like just saved me. Or Ryan was there. He put Ryan there. Thank the Lord, we weren't both up on the table at the same time. We'd have both been electrocuted.
30 seconds difference.
And it was actually, it wasn't even, I don't even know if it was 30 seconds. Ryan had just got down and was getting the string, and I was up there, and God just put him in right there to basically save my life performing CPR. Had he not done CPR, I wouldn't be here talking to you tonight. It's something that happened so quick. We were doing something for somebody, and it just you're alive one day, and then or one second, next second you're not breathing, and you're fighting for your life.
Ryan, well, at first were you like, man, you owe me like a beer or something like that after?
No, man. Mike's so humble and does for everybody else. He embarrasses me sometimes. Like, you saved my life, man. I did what anybody would do to help you.
Awesome.
He saved his life by having the will to come back.
I probably need to send him a Christmas card.
Yeah, maybe a Christmas card, or like, I don't know, just a thank you note.
But Mike, he caters my Christmas luncheon every year, and he buy a lot of get a lot of food from Ryan, order a lot of food. So right after this happened, I ordered a big order, big, maybe expensive order, and I said, Ryan, now come on, buddy, you're not going to charge me, or you done charged me one time. So he didn't think it was funny.
I love it. Well, okay, back to the CPR real quick. I mean, just kind of going back. I know you said, you've heard from firefighters. You did have someone to dispatcher kind of walking through. But you went back immediately to your 9th grade, and the fact that that's when you.
Oh yeah, I put my finger. I checked this airways, turned his head on the side. I remember from before, counted up with 2 finger thickness above. This his solar plexus there. I mean, just because I did it then, like that's the only exposure I ever had to it. And Miss Wyndham, she's long gone by now, but she had the health class, and she was a stickler about CPR. So I'll never forget that. Going back all those years.
Oh my gosh. So that's,
that'd have been like 1990 or 91, 89, 90, 91, like 1990, 91 probably.
Right, it sticks with you.
That's when I talk to my staff about CPR. We have CPR training in our school systems. It's not just another class you go through. It's actually, if it's performed right, you're in the right situation. You never know when you're going to be in that situation that you can actually save someone's life by being able to perform CPR.
Exactly. That's why I was going to ask.
One thing I have to say though too is the lady on the dispatch was awesome. She was very methodical. I know they're trained for that, and I know that's what they do. But in the emergency though, she talked us through it. She was supportive. She stayed. She validated what our next steps were if we asked her. She volunteered. So there a lot of credit has to go there as well. And as well as the EMS team that got there when they got there. But in that instance, we're lucky the outcome is what it was. I'm not sure it would have been as good as it was without that person there. Hopefully it would have been, and we'd remember, but I just want to give them some credit too, because they did a phenomenal job.
Mike, do you have any long-term effects? Any heart issues or anything with this? Or was it basically like a fixed you up and you got the leave situation.
Pretty much, it's just,
Wow.
go out of the hospital and then they just said, take it easy a couple of weeks and, life returns, to normal. Yeah.
Absolutely. So you kind of talked about how, now you've been pushing your staff. That's a huge saying here with who we play for is we really want all school districts, obviously in Florida, we got it passed, have to be CPR certified and things like that. Students go through it. I mean, you talk a little bit more about, why you just are pushing now for your staff and students to do this.
So, who we play for, I was at our board of directors at NEFEC, our meeting here about a month ago, and Evan was there, talked about who we play for, and they come to the schools and do our EKG for our students. So tomorrow we'll be screening our high school and elementary school students, ages 10 and up, and of course who we play for, the sponsors, they'll be paying for everything. So it's just it's huge for our school district because 1 in 300 students are usually flagged when we do the EKGs. So it's a leading cause of death for students is heart failure, heart attacks on campus. So our students don't have to play sports, and it's something that we can hopefully, if there's a heart defect for some of our students, that it'll flag it and they can get further medical treatment, later on. So hopefully it's a good preventative measure for our students.
Absolutely. Well, I only have one more question really for you guys. It's my last question I ask everybody. But before I ask you, is there anything else that you guys want to, throw in there either from your story with this or, why you think this is important?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't know Jesus, you need to know Jesus because he is real and he is coming back, to earth. And I know if I would have passed away, if I'd have died that night, I would still be going to heaven. The Bible tells us that, that Jesus said, I went to prepare a place for you, and if I go to prepare a place for you, I will come back. And he's real, he's alive. I saw him that night. I had an experience with the Lord, and he's real. Jesus is real, and my prayer that people will get to know him as their personal Savior and live for him each and every day because he's our only hope in this world. And I'm just thankful to have Ryan. He was always been a good friend, and just thankful for him. He saved, and God used him that night to save my life.
Absolutely. Ryan, anything you want to add on top of that? 'Cause that was good.
That's hard to follow. I just say from a humble personal view, I'm just happy the way that turned out. And, Mike's there for his family. And I mean, he's got a wonderful family, and to be able to see them and grandkids and grow up and grow old. And, it's just a blessing. We're very fortunate the outcome. And Mike was already very, very, very active and positive with community service and civic organizations and in his faith and in his church, and that solidified all that too for everything else because he was already there, so that's a good thing. So overall, I'm just happy because I don't know, from a selfish point, I don't know how to talk to your wife or look at your family or anything. I'm just happy you're here, more than anything.
Absolutely. All right. So my last question, obviously the name of our organization is Who We Play For. It's about who we fight for, why we do all this fighting to make sure CPR is mandated for students. It's why we want to make sure EKGs are happening and stuff like that. So I like to ask everybody, who do you play for? What is your why to keep going and to keep fighting the good fight, I guess? And we'll start with you, Mike.
Yeah, I'm just glad, who we play for. I was, able to, meet Evan and meet the organization. It's a great organization. There's a lot of athletes out there that, weren't as fortunate as me that died, whether on the basketball court, soccer field. So this organization has been huge for the state of Florida and doing a lot of great things, and I'm glad to have them here in our school district, to help our students and hopefully prevent something from happening to a student.
Absolutely. And what about you, Brian? What would you say you fight for?
Well, every day I get up and fight to try to be better than I was yesterday. And used to I would ask myself questions. I'm a capitalist probably. But so now my question is not will it make me money first? It's will my family be proud of me? Will my daughter be proud of me? Will my kids be happy? So I fight for being a better person today than I was yesterday and making sure that my family's happy and satisfied. And that's kind of selfish and that's close to home. But if I feel like if I take care of that, it radiates to everything else in my life, so it makes it all good.
Absolutely.